Welcome, Bills Mafia, to Bills or Bust, the podcast dedicated to all things Buffalo Bills. I'm Tom Murphy. Join in as we talk about the Buffalo Bills, of course, and also the other 31 teams in the league that will watch us win the Super Bowl or bust. Hey. To quote the great Marv Levy, "Fight on, my men," Sir Andrew said. "I am hurt, but I am not slain. I'll lay me down and bleed a while, and then I'll rise and fight again." It's the only comfort we can probably take right now after that crushing loss today to Cincinnati. Joining me today is my good buddy, the first guest on Bills or Bust, Jason Thurston. Hey, Jason, how you doing, man? All things considered.
All things considered, hanging in. I guess there's the whole wait till next year that the Brooklyn Dodgers would always say, and 1955 eventually came. Would have loved to have been this year, but yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I hear you. And I know you went to a famous Bills backers bar in Paterson, New Jersey, Duffy's, which we went and saw the Miami game. Oh, yeah. And
hundreds of people packed.
I know, yeah, you showed me pictures. It seemed like a good time. I had bad luck with bars this year watching games. Not that I'm superstitious at all, but man, I imagine the feeling wasn't so great there today, was it?
No, the air was sucked out of the room pretty fast. It was one of those things where, you want to have a moment. For a little bit, there was the one drive where we started to get excited. Mm-hmm. And it looked hopeful, but then hope was just outside the reach almost every drive. It just really did not feel. It felt like we barely got close at any point this game.
Yeah, it was. It was one of those things. Didn't seem like our day. Everything seemed to go Cincinnati's way, and it's just. It was a little surreal. Something we weren't used to this season. Even in our losses, we were always in them, and this was just not what we were hoping for sure.
Just very listless. Just. I'm not going to call any. I mean, we talk about players playing with fire. I don't think it's that. But it's possible that ultimately, I said this a couple of weeks ago. I felt that either they were going to run to the Super Bowl or that they were just sapped from just such an exhausting season with tragedy after tragedy after victory. I mean, even where Damar Hamlin. We're so thankful that it worked out, that he was able to get to the game today. But we're all human at a certain point. It's just you're exhausted from the days that they had to trudge through the snow to get to another game, playing on the road most of the time. And then you don't know if one of your best friends, the person that you've gone to war with, they've gone to the football field with over and over again, all of a sudden, you don't think about it as a life and death thing, but then you have that, and then for a week you didn't know really what was going to happen, and I just have to wonder if at a certain point there just wasn't any energy left, because I can't explain what happened today just from.
Oh yeah, and with that, I'm just going to give most everybody saw this today, but just going to give a quick minute recap here, like we do on every show. On a mildly snowy day at Highmark Stadium, the Cincinnati Bengals performed the exact way Bills Mafia hoped the Bills would, dominating every aspect of the game from beginning to end, defeating the Bills 27-10 in the AFC divisional round, ending the Bills season that had the most expectations in 30 years, leaving the Bills Mafia with only higher hopes for next season. It's about the only way, we can kind of recap that game. It's you had mentioned, obviously, the Damar Hamlin situation. While he's considerably better, it was great to see him at the game. That was, one bright spot. He did the heart thing, which very silver lining in this game, because, when it comes down to it, that's really all that matters is his health. And you might be right. You mentioned they looked exhausted. They may probably the two games that they won beforehand, probably just won on pure talent.
Yeah, no, just the last burst of energy, and in the last game, they were just probably that much better than the Dolphins at that period. The Dolphins had sort of backed in to the playoffs, so that no matter what went wrong, they were still going to be in that game. And just when they were faced with a strong team on a roll. It might be just as simple as that. It's the
Yeah.
classic any Sunday, and out of Sundays, I guess.
Yeah, and it's something we, kind of precluded to earlier. Something we're not used to. It's been more than a year since we've been like dominated in a game. It's probably the last one was that Colts regular season game last year. This game just we lost 27-10. Almost felt a little worse than that.
Bengals just that close.
Yeah, Bengals just seemed to be able to like run, almost do whatever they wished. And it seemed like we even got like a couple lucky breaks. And we had talked yesterday about how you kind of felt, I always say like the mistakes. Like there weren't the real types of mistakes that we usually make, like the turnovers. The only turnover was very late in the game when it was pretty much
the last gasp. It wasn't even the last gasp, but at that point it was already done. It was just, let's see if we can get one score on the board. It was like 40 seconds left.
Yeah, and also talk about like to complain about the O-line. They weren't great by any means, but they weren't the reason we lost. It was just something, I wish I could put my finger on it, something was missing. To start the game with 2 3-and-outs is just not the Bills' high-powered offense, which we're used to.
When you're facing the Bengals, you can't do that. You can't. You've got to keep up at least. You have to at least. 2 field goals are going to put you behind already by 8 points. And
for sure. Like there seemed to be life. They were actually moving the ball. Allen actually finished the game. Obviously, some of it was garbage time. Actually finished the game with more yards than Burrow. Completion percentage, a little different story. Not even that worse. Obviously, some very few bright spots. You had mentioned Shakir. Shakir came up with 2 huge catches.
Yeah.
And
Matt Milano, I thought, as usual, was all over the place.
Yeah, he did have maybe like a missed tackle here and there. It was like Bills obviously didn't play their best game. You have to give credit where credit's due. Cincinnati was more or less flawless today. Their execution was just, fantastic on offense, and they absolutely did what they needed to do on defense.
Well, I heard one of the Cincinnati fans, content creators, talking about how they just found ways to win, and they just seem to be on this trip, on this is almost a team of destiny type thing going on, and it's almost like they were playing a little weak for a bit, and they faced theoretically strong competition and met the challenge, and good for them. I think you forget they're the defending champions.
I know, yeah, and that's the thing. Like,
they're defending AFC champions, yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean Romo and Nance were just. It is Jim Nance, right? Oh my God,
yes, Jim Nance.
Romo is Jim. I should know because they pretty much analyze every Bills game. On CBS. But obviously, it was just always like, is it Nance? Because Romo is definitely the story of every commentary game, and they were kind of saying like a lot of teams just did not give Cincinnati the credit they deserved winning. Obviously, we were hyped beyond belief, rightfully so.
Yeah.
And obviously people still, thought the Chiefs were in there. People were giving the Chargers a huge boost. They didn't come through. And when you come to think of it, the Bills ended up having, aside from today, a great season. 13-3 was about as good as we ever did during the Super Bowl years.
I don't think we've ever had 14 wins. I don't think either any Super Bowl years. I think 13-3 was the
13-3, yeah, which we did in our 16-game season. 14-3, I think, is about before today. Yeah, that'll be the goal. That'll be the goal next year. We'll see. But there was a story with the Bills this year, kind of like team of like 2 halves, even though it was kind of like pre-bye week and then post-bye week. We're still like great, had a great record post-bye week, but we were 5-1 heading into the bye, ending that stretch with a monster game against Kansas City, probably one of our best games. And then even though we went 8-2 the remainder of the season, just kind of seemed to be just a little something missing. I kind of felt this team was a little vulnerable. There was not a team that showed no vulnerability this season, but just kind of started to think maybe they didn't have that oomph, that buzzsaw. That was a term we threw around a lot. It was still effective.
Could be the exhaustion too. That was part of. They had 3 games in 11 days that they won all 3 games on the road, and at a certain point, I mean, it really was just kind of a ridiculous season. That's where I get a little bit of solace, a little bit of comfort in, is the idea that the same thing that kind of made me feel a little down after the great game, the great way we ended last year, was the idea that no matter what you do, no matter how powerful you are in the regular season, you can just have a bad day and it's over. But the other side of that is if you have a strong team and you know that you have the ability to get there, once you get there, every year you have a chance.
No, absolutely. And it's just amazing how our expectations have just completely skyrocketed in the past few years. Where it was just like, oh, please, please let us make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Where now it's just we clinched the playoffs in like week 13, and we're just kind of like, oh yeah, of course, we knew that was happening.
Imagine after that Miami game where before Rex Ryan got fired, I think it was the one who was an overtime game where Rex Ryan decided to punt with 4 minutes left in overtime, and still had a chance to win the division at that point. And that would have been the 17th year that we didn't go to the playoffs. If you had been told at that point, as Rex Ryan's about to get fired, as we're playing this just kind of meaningless game at the end, 17 years of not going to the playoffs, that you would have 3 years. We would go to the playoffs. Was it 4, 5, and 7 years? 6 and 7 years? 5 and 6 years. We'll edit this, right?
5 and 6 years. Yep.
5 and 6 years, and 3 years in a row, you'd win a playoff game. 4 years in a row, you'd have 10 wins or more. You'd have a quarterback who every year has a chance to be the MVP. Has the chance to just drive you through there. We dreamed of a franchise QB through Edwards, through Lossman, through Van Pelt, through EJ Manuel, through Tyrod Taylor and Ryan Fitzpatrick. I loved them, but you knew they were not somebody you could build a championship on. And there's very few quarterbacks you can do that with. Joe Burrow is one, Patrick Mahomes is another, and Josh Allen. You kind of know that one day he will get us there. And you have a chance every year you have him, and you probably will have a chance with him. He loves being in Buffalo. He'll be there for the next 10 years, pretty certainly. So.
Oh yeah, it's like that's one thing we don't have an issue with. We have very, very few issues. It's just like, and that's the thing. We're probably not really missing anything. It's just kind of getting it all together at the certain times.
Even the offensive line, I think there's a lot of different things that eventually they can come together. You might be able to get a guard in the draft this year with the 27th pick. Maybe Bates will work. Maybe Bates will click. At the end of the year last year, 4 out of the 5 guys who are there now were playing at a top level. They were not giving up any sacks. They were making running lanes. They were about as good as you could be. So I felt really positive. I felt hopeful when we came into the season that the O-line might actually have maybe not solved, but would not be a problem. If there's one thing that I'm questioning going into next year, besides expiring contracts, it's always hard to solve the problem of an offensive line. What do you do? How do you fix it at times? Sometimes it's hard to know what is broken.
Oh yeah, no. That's kind of what do the Bills do moving forward? It's not a reflection so much on our team. These things happen. It just happened at the absolute worst moment for us. Our losses were by combined 8 points in the regular season, and today, I mean, it's only 17. But going forward, we're going to be good next year. There's a lot of great teams in the AFC, though, and we do have some contract issues. I mean, mainly Edmonds. There's Poyer, Singletary, and maybe you can help me out with this, Hyde.
No, Hyde goes one more year. Hyde goes through this year. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's huge because, we talk about Hyde. He was a huge loss, especially, in week 2, because a huge part of our defense was that combination of that safety tandem. It definitely prevented teams from going deep on us very often, like in the past 2 years. It would be great to keep both of them. Bean has been kind of a magician when it comes to moving the salary cap. I know we're kind of, we're at that part.
Some math off of over the cap, and it's been confirmed. I've heard I've heard content creators who are very adept at the math of the salary cap. It's pretty much the same thing. There is $70 million that can be moved around. A lot of it is in Josh Allen's contract. You can guarantee his salary for next year. That's $26 million right there. And it's a lot of years. You know he's going to be there. So, and you know there's a very good chance that with the TV money and with the gambling money, that the salary cap is going to explode the next few years. It might not this year, so that might make it a little tricky. But it does mean that you can take a gamble and convert Allen's money, I believe. And I think Deion Dawkins, Tre'Davious White, there's a few. I heard Von Miller, but looking at the math, I think they might have done something this year that may have negated that. But
okay.
Yeah.
I am thinking also with Von Miller signed till he's 39.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Yeah,
we'd probably both be shocked if he plays for the Bills till he's 39.
Yeah.
So there might be a lot of room to play with that. Where who knows? Maybe we'll be in dire straits in a few years when we're playing a guy to live in retirement in Hawaii. But at least we have we'll have him coming back. He'll be hungry.
Hopefully, it's not the same timeline as Tre'Davious White, and all of these injuries are different. I've gotten the impression from things like banged up Bills, and I'm not getting that same vibe that it's going. Like last year, I would hear Tre'Davious White, oh, he's not going to play until at least mid-season to late. I'm like, no, that can't possibly be. I blew it completely off, and it happened how it happened. It was exactly almost a year to the day.
Oh yeah. Was his first game back the Thanksgiving game?
Thanksgiving Day, yeah. I think that was not an accident.
Yeah, let's hope. That's not the case. We'll still be a tough team. Even if they're not just going to let everybody fly.
But even if they did, I think they're still a top team. I think they're still.
I have to feel. We talk a lot about Tremaine Edmonds. We both think, you even more so, that he's been solid his career. This year was something different. He was definitely a huge reason our defense was so effective.
Huge step up in this coverage game.
For sure.
Holding QBs, opposing QBs, and wide receivers under. I believe it's like about 69% QB rating. Only Poyer and Milano were lower than that, and only one missed tackle, like a 1% missed tackle rate. You don't really get much better than that, particularly when you're a linebacker. It's
for sure. It is funny, yeah. It doesn't seem like he missed tackles so much. It seemed like the Bills on the whole, it seemed like they missed a lot of tackles, just not as much in years past. Everybody's saying the missed tackles are still a problem. My mind is still in 2014, 2015, where it was just completely a tackling optional defense. Way back then, where it was just they've gotten a little better at that. And it's kind of don't even know where we go with potential free agents. We're probably going to have to find some affordable offensive linemen at least to compete.
Yes, yeah. Find some diamonds in the rough, maybe some second contracts that could use some rehabilitation. Names, but I do not.
Yeah, and you're kind of you're definitely the contract expert of this friendship. Do you think you're pretty sure Saffold was just a 1 year, right?
Saffold, yeah, I believe it's an option. I believe it's a year and an option.
Okay, I all due respect, I opt no.
Oh yeah, no. It's if you can get out of the contract, I would say at this point.
Yeah, it's just
probably lost that. And if you can't, next to Dawkins, you can't do that, then it's probably just done. He's 34. He seems like a great guy and a great teammate, and I wish it worked out.
Absolutely, yeah. They're all good guys on this team. It's kind of have to remember that. And another thing with the loss today, it's for me, it was just overall a bad game. So it was kind of easier not to pick on any certain players. It was just this team that we love that just did not get it done. But we love what this team does. It was a little disheartening. I got to kind of go back to the game now. Kind of noticed Diggs was getting a little upset with Allen during the game. And at the end, you could definitely see there was a little tension there. I'm sure they'll figure that out. It's just very emotional game, Yeah. And
they couldn't figure out how to solve what was going on, and that's got to be frustrating because it hasn't happened to them. They're kind of to a degree spoiled in that regard too, in that they haven't faced this sort of thing in the last year and a half. The 3 years they've been together, when has Diggs really had a rough time? So
Yeah, no.
nobody really, just never a rhythm. Could never quite the weather or the energy, or who knows? I mean,
Yeah, no, it was a lot of a lot of things, and also one thing, kind of going forward, pass rushes. It's something we did not want to talk about.
I don't know what to say about it right now, because I can't really defend it. They had the one sack, I believe.
Oh
Milano.
yeah, it was Milano for like a 3-yard loss, and it was on
the offensive lineman. I mean, over the year, I thought they were not terrible in getting pressure by any standards. They were very consistent about getting sacks. There were no games where the D-line was entirely shut out. The Mixon's abilities to run all over them was an anomaly. That's not like how they were all year. He's like the third or maybe fourth running back to get any traction against them.
And no monster runs by him. It was just consistent.
Well, the thing early in the game that just the weird stat. Last week there was a weird stat. I didn't share it, but when we were dominating, when Allen had the perfect QB rating, Tyler Thompson had a 0 QB rating. I'd never seen anything quite like it, and it just kept going and going through into the second quarter. And today, I think it was the first 3 drives. The longest play by the Bills was shorter than the shortest play by the Bengals. Maybe there's one off, but the shortest play was a 4-yard play on first down for the Bengals. The longest play for us was a 3-yard run.
Oh yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, that was early. You had texted that, and it was kind of like, it's like I was kind of noticing that, but I didn't want to believe it. No.
Yeah, at first when the Bengals went right on the field, I wasn't worried at all, because it just felt okay. That was the weather. The offense knows where they're going. We have a very strong offense, and the Bengals defense over the year was not necessarily, that was about the same as the Bills defense. They were pretty. So I figure, okay, well, that's how the game's going to be. At one point, we'll be able to stop them. We could get the double up between the last play of the first half and the first play of the second half, and it's just keep going. I would have faith for the Bills to do that, but they couldn't get anything going. And what do you do in that case? You have Allen. You have Diggs. You have Knox. They have these players who are, and Davis was not playing badly today even. And
he was kind of, if he could have gotten going, he was they called him, big game Gabe, It was just like, there were times he had a great, sideline catch. It was,
Beasley had a play. I mean,
Beasley had several nice plays. Knox was great. Diggs was there weren't egregious drops.
No, that was the thing. The thing that we were worried about didn't happen, and yet
there were a lot of things. I think when we talked yesterday, mentioned that the Bengals kind of known for being like a one-half team.
Yeah,
like a very strong one half, and then kind of taking a half off, which just didn't really. You could say they only had 10 points in the second half, but they were just kind of consistently good, and we did not have a good quarter. We did not really have a good quarter the whole game. Maybe the second quarter we had that nice drive, and it was just. I don't like to say too many things on fate. It just didn't seem like our day, and it just seemed like
our day. And for all the wins that we had this year, and all the resilience, and all the frustrations, I can't say that this was our year. And we may have been given to us at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
We've been supposedly destined to win this year, and Vegas might have said that. But when the game started getting played, even in the 5-1 stretch, something just wasn't. We just injury after injury after injury after weirdness after Dawson Knox's brother. I mean, it takes a while to keep going on these things, and there's sort of a thing where there's a famous thing, you can't use injuries as an excuse, and it's not that it's an excuse, but at a certain point, you're like, if you're calling in my cat, then you're not gonna have a drop off from Micah Hyde to my cat. So
it's one of those things. You can definitely not so much excuses, but like explanations.
Yeah.
There are things. It is hard when we have those. I I kind of go back. Like I noticed, not to say anything's wrong with that. You kind of saw like yesterday, Patrick Mahomes, who looked like he was playing on like a separated foot. He was not. In the one drive they put in Henny, he drives them down to a 98 yard.
I heard that one.
98 yard, like it was a 98-yard drive. I mean, he did not look like Patrick Mahomes. And in a way, you could probably say, even with the injuries, especially because the injuries were mainly on defense, the defense did really get it done with those injuries. This was the first game we lost without Miller. Kind of goes to show, like it's such a fickle game. It's not like the other sports where you play a game, you play a team, best 4 out of 7. It's just like one shot every round. It's just one of those sports, and
you have a bad day, you're done.
Oh, absolutely. And like there have been greater teams than this that did not get it done. As much as I love this team this year, we were not the 2007 Patriots.
No, and I think that's part of what went wrong is we were sort of sold a bill of goods that we were going to the Patriots. And it, again, like the whole, I don't want to say injuries, it wasn't injuries necessarily, but I think that was the first thing you can say. You don't know that if we didn't have a Hyde injury, that we didn't have a Von Miller injury, or we would have all these different times where we're juggling the secondary out for a bit, Milano out for a bit, everyone on the line out at one point, even Daquan Jones eventually. You don't know. You can't say that it wouldn't have happened, but you can't say that it would have happened.
No, it is kind of funny going like to the beginning of the season, because I don't want to say like bought into the hype, because the hype was real, and we did have a 13-3 season. It's not like we were, it was we kind of fit that. We kind of fit that. We knew there were some vulnerabilities. We were winning a lot of games just purely on the fact that we were a much better team, which is a good position to be in. But it was like pretty much like, once it was like, oh yeah, they're going to be good, and then like the Von Miller thing, it was just add one player, and it's like, oh, the Super Bowl is like. I felt like 90% of the analysts were saying we were going to win the Super Bowl, and I was being like, okay, just like kind of calm down. But I 100% let that get to me, and was just like, my God, they're onto something, But I also knew like a lot of great teams in the AFC. It's just like, again, it's like any given Sunday, anything can happen.
And you mentioned the 2007 Patriots. I mean, you have the 18-1 Patriots.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it was like that one day where nobody gave the Giants a shot. That game, I didn't give the Giants a shot when they even went ahead. I was just like, oh, this is the Patriots' year, and
you know what they're going to do.
Yeah, and it's like it usually is nobody's year. Every team has as much as a shot as anybody. It's
Giants are an exemplar of that. The Giants did that twice, where they did not they had a middling year, barely got into the postseason, and then won it all. And nobody differentiates them from any other winners. So.
Exactly, yeah. It kind of just goes to show, like, at least for the foreseeable future, we're going to be in that conversation, because it doesn't seem like any team is really going to, next year, really get those final pieces. I don't know what the salary cap is with other teams. I mean, even the Rams, who seemed to last year go out and buy a championship, like they had a pretty lucky road, it seemed.
The Dolphins, in our division, the Dolphins are in worse shape than us with the salary cap. And a lot of players to bring back. So, and we don't know what's going on with Tua on that. You go to the Jets, they've got a lot of great players, but they don't know who's going to be playing quarterback, and they might not have a quarterback for the future for a few years. And the Patriots look like they might be, King Lear in the forest.
Yeah, it is funny with the Patriots. It's I keep thinking like, yeah, they're gonna like fall off, but it's like, but they probably will like be that middle of the road team. We're in a tough division. It's another thing I wanted to get into. I still think we're still like the favorites. We're the king.
I think we're actually by a wide margin. We still are.
Yeah, it's until
quarterback.
Yeah, the thing is, like, even more than especially with the salary cap situation, we kind of know what the Dolphins are going to bring. If the Jets can somehow figure out that quarterback situation, huge if, huge if. I mean, that squad could be like scary. That was a team. Like, let's watch today. Today was just an anomaly. The Jets were the best, probably the scariest defense we faced this season twice. They definitely limited us, but if they don't have a quarterback to lead that team, it's like they're going to have to figure that out quickly. And yeah, no, I expect us to still be the kings of the AFC East and be one of the top three teams next year, along with the Chiefs. And and we'll also see with the Chiefs. I have no idea what their situation is. I don't know. They keep getting some draft picks. Cincinnati is scared.
Yeah, they were just the beginning last year, and they were in the Super Bowl. So, well before their time. But we'll see. Quarterback, or two great receivers at the top. Tyler Boyd, I don't know if he's where he is on that point. Hayden Hurst still has some upside.
We talked about Hayden Hurst yesterday. Man, where is that guy the rest of the season?
Yeah, and the defense, DJ Reader is going to be. I think he's a future Hall of Famer. I really do. I think he's someone who's just about to have a name in the league. He's just completely clogging up that middle.
Definitely, yeah. When we were talking yesterday, two names I did not hear at all today from the Bengals: Hubbard and Hendrickson, Double H. Did not hear them much at all.
It didn't really feel like the defense was shutting us down, even while they were shutting us down. I didn't see anyone. Mm-hmm. Secondary, which was supposed to be their weakness, might have been the strongest.
I had mentioned Von Bell. Heard nothing of Jesse Bates. Von Bell came up huge, and Mike Hilton, who he had some huge plays, especially late. Mm-hmm. And it's I'd like to see if we had played this team, in a best of three. But I'm bitching a bit about the Bills. Bengals just played phenomenally today. It's just you gotta give that credit where it's due, and also good for them. We should have a soft spot for them. It's a little hard right now, but
I'm not feeling charitable to them today. But asking in 4 days, their fan base. I've never really had a problem with their fan base, and destinies have been intertwined the last couple of years. Oh, not even just the last couple of years. I still remember 1988 when the second playoff game I ever saw. I remember it as just a game where felt confident going into the game, but then there was you just couldn't catch up. You could never catch up, and you just couldn't get any traction. And before you knew it, the game was over, and that was how this game felt. So it was deja vu, Bengals.
It is funny. That was also. Yeah, I was 9 years old in that playoff, and I do remember, that was the second game, and I think I was kind of unaware that the Bengals were somewhat favored in that game.
Yeah,
I just knew, the Bills are great. We're going to beat this Bengals team, and they did. I was shocked, 21-10. How did that happen? But I think most of the NFL knew more than my 9-year-old self at the time. So that kind of goes back into. Kind of like Bill's trivia, and we have some trivia to get to in a little bit here. We are now 0-3 against the Bengals in playoff history. So they are definitely our, overall playoff boogeyman, so to say. Recent times, it seems like it was the Chiefs, but that's a Jacksonville 0-2 we're against.
I remember both of those, both very painful.
Oh, absolutely.
Slap in the face, the first time losing a home game. Something you thought we couldn't possibly lose a home game, and that's it's only happened one other time, and twice now.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Now I feel comfortable going to a Bills home playoff game because I was at that one when I was 17 in 1996, and just thinking I'm going to go see the Bills win a playoff game, and especially against was that their second year in existence?
No, it didn't. It did not. They were definitely favored in that game, and that was one of those games where it was close the whole way. And you're there's no way they're going to lose. There's no way they're going to lose. It's too close for comfort, but there's no way they're going to lose. And then they lost.
No, it was a total bummer. My mind couldn't wrap around that. That was still Kelly, Bruce, Thurman, Reed. I was how did this team lose to the Jaguars? ours. And, as I've gotten older, I've come to realize that, anything can happen. This team now, Allen's now 4-4 in the playoffs. Not a bad record. You have to look at it from the perspective of where we were a few years ago.
26. He's 26. So
he's 20. He's 26, and he's going to be back in the playoffs regularly now. And still processing everything tonight because it's. I have to say I'm a little zen about it. It's a lot of things changed. A lot of things changed with the Hamlin thing. It was kind of nice to see him like really progress, and for me to get to the point where it's like, now football is all that matters. But like, still, it's that's one of the most important things, and still just love this team. It's it was very upsetting today, but I'm not exactly shocked. I knew we were vulnerable. I felt Bengals could be too. And it's just, like anything can happen. Maybe we'll win the Super Bowl as a 7 seed. Not that it'll happen. Maybe that's our destiny.
Next year we're the 5th or 6th predicted team, or we're not the Vegas favorites, and we lived through a schedule.
Oh yeah. Oh no, that's a thing. We're definitely. Yeah, there'll be a couple people who'll be like, why not the Bills? Especially maybe if we make some huge signing. But, have to think, regardless of what happens, probably a lot of people are going to be picking the Bengals. They might now be the new AFC darlings, but that changes moment to moment.
Doesn't make it any harder to win or harder to win.
For sure. And I know a little hard to talk about now, but still football going on. Sometimes hard to think about. Last year, I remember when the Bills lost that devastating game to Kansas City, I was 100% like, I'm not watching another football game this season, because that was more heartbreaking than this year, because we were so close. At least this year, the Band-Aid was ripped off very quickly in the game. Then 2 days later, I came to realize I still love football. Looks like got Kansas City versus Cincinnati, Philadelphia versus San Francisco. Do you have I know you don't have a rooting interest in any of this, but do you see one of these 4 teams coming out?
I'm going to go with, at this point, 49ers over Bengals. Okay,
that's a good one. Obviously, my good buddy Drew Guthrie is watching. Big time Chiefs fan. Has been my homie for life for 25 years. Big time Kansas City fan. We're very supportive of each team. I'm gonna go with your Super Bowl matchup, but I'm gonna go with Bengals over 9%. There's something about the Bengals.
Something about those teams going right at each other.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
was Brock Purdy doing it. I know it's not Brock Purdy per se, but it's still pretty impressive for a Mr. Irrelevant to not.
And seriously, that's just something any football fan just has to be thinking about. How crazy would it be for not only a Mr. Irrelevant, but a rookie Mr. Irrelevant to win the Super Bowl?
You might have actually just got me interested in watching another football game.
Yeah, that would be, a lot of it. He has quite a supporting cast, and he's also looked like the best quarterback the Niners have had this season. Trey Lance, he might be perfect trade bait for them. They can probably get something for him.
That would be for a team that already has a lot.
Oh, yes. Yeah, they got to look out for them in the future. But that Purdy situation is, they're going to have their hands full with Philadelphia. That's, they are.
You pass for any teams here.
That's I'm going to be rooting for the Chiefs out of respect for my boy. But I'm definitely rooting for the AFC. It'll make the Bills look better, and
maybe sate the hunger. Maybe the Bengals get it out of their system.
Absolutely, yeah.
All they need, and next year.
Oh yeah,
they'll be right for the table.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of one thing I've always talked about, because Bills are one of 12 teams that have never won a Super Bowl, and for some reason, I don't want any other team winning a Super Bowl. I might make an exception for the Bengals. Could be the nice thank you for how hospitable they were 20 days ago, and why not? Just harboring something like that might just be unhealthy, because we can get ours. We can win it all next year.
2004, the Red Sox finally won, and the next year, the White Sox finally won.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it could be a string, Yeah, Bengals win it this year. Bills win four straight years, the next years, and then
over Dallas, one over the Giants, and one over the Commanders.
Exactly, yeah. And then maybe after our four Super Bowl win streak, maybe the Lions or Browns.
Yeah, we can let the Lions in at that point.
Yeah, we'll give it to them.
Throw somebody to the Browns, but not to the Browns. None to the Browns.
Yeah, and so real quick, I'm starting to get the 2-minute warning here from the producers, but I have to go back. We did a trivia question last week. The trivia question last week was, so you remember Andrew Seiler of the Dolphins had a defensive touchdown against us in a playoff game. And would you tell our fans who was the last team to score a defensive touchdown against us prior to that?
Oh dear. Was it Jacksonville? Oh, no, yeah.
It was Jacksonville, and I did for extra credit who was the guy who scored it. That was Jacksonville in 1996, by the way.
It was a guy whose name I barely remembered, and I watched that game, and I don't got it. I don't got it.
It was Clyde Simmons.
Clyde Simmons. Good old Clyde Simmons.
Oh, yeah. And the trivia for next week, and if you do know the answer to this, please let me know after the show, because we want to give our audience a chance to answer. I came up with this with the hopes that we would be going to the AFC Championship, but in the Super Bowl era, which is 6 games for Buffalo, there are 4 players tied with 2 interceptions in the AFC Championship, Bills AFC Championship lore. Okay. Name 2 of them. It's a hard one, so yeah, I'm going to let you answer after the show. You probably know 2. It's a hard one.
Guesses.
But, Jason, thank you so much for being here. I know this is a little tough. We planned this, and we were hoping this to be a much more joyous event. But there's a few more loyal Bills fans that I know, more than you. So it was definitely nice to commiserate. Hopefully, this was a little therapeutic.
It was dancing to the edge of sanity. Yes, yeah.
It's regardless, Bills win or lose, they're still a source of joy in our lives.
The last couple of years is they win a lot more than they lose, so it's still worth it. Still fun to be a fan. I'm thankful that more often than not.
Absolutely, and sometimes I think the more pain we endure with this team, the sweeter the reward will be.
And I like this team. I think they're a great bunch of players. I love Sean McDermott. I think Sean McDermott is the kind of coach that I like to have on a team, the very emotionally supportive type of coach. And I think there's a power to that. He's a cohesive center.
No, absolutely. Yeah, no, it's an easy team to root for, and, easy team to like. It's not like we're rooting for, a Raiders team of old where,
or the Browns this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But once again, Jason, we're going to have you on again. Going to be a lot to talk about during the off season, free agency, the draft. Off podcast, we'll be talking a lot about that in the next few months to come.
Talking tape.
Absolutely. Thank you again, and thank you to the audience. We appreciate you every week. Follow us on Twitter, Bills or Bust Pod, and take care of yourselves, and let's go Buffalo. Thanks again for listening to Buffalo Bills or Bust. Remember to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and let's go Buffalo. Buffalo Bills or Bust has been a Samurai Dinosaur production. Copyright 2023.